Hi, this is Rosy Trujillo with Legacy Real Estate Group. I'm co-founder, owner, and this is another episode of Más Futbol podcast.
Yo, welcome back to the Más Futbol podcast, the number one soccer podcast in Oklahoma City. I am your host, Ricardo Ulloa, and I want to start this podcast by thanking the sponsors, Legacy Real Estate Group. You know who they are. I've mentioned them many times. But if you are looking to buy, sell, invest, have any questions in a crunch, I definitely recommend you to hit up my tia Rosy and my tia Vero and everyone else on the team. They're great, super experienced, and they made my process super smooth. But today I do have a guest with me. She didn't play soccer, but she has been super great with me, allowing me to record here in her space. They are our sponsors. It is my tia Rosy from Legacy Real Estate Group.
Hello.
Hi, tia. How are you today?
I'm great. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy that you're doing this. I think it's amazing, and you're doing such a great job, and anything to support family. So yeah, I'm here.
Thank you. You've been a lot of help, so I appreciate that. But I did want to take this moment to say thank you for the sponsorship, as well as allowing me to come and use the space. I thought it would be a great idea to have you on and tell me about how the real estate stuff is going, a little bit about yourself, how you started, and what it takes to do what you do, because it seems like it is a lot. So if you want to start off by telling me a little bit about who you are and what you do, and we can go from there.
Awesome. So my name is Rosy Trujillo. Actually, my name is Rosana Trujillo. And a lot of people know just the person that I am now. But I'm actually from Tlacuitapan, Jalisco. Here's my roots go back to Mexico. I was born and raised in Mexico until I was 14. I was brought here and I didn't want to come. I was one of the few that I was like, I don't want to go. I want to stay in my hometown. I still crave to go back.
You didn't want to come?
I didn't.
I didn't know that.
I
didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been vocal about it, but I was like, no, it's okay. I want to stay home. So we were brought here in 95, and that's when the bombing happened.
Really?
Yes.
Like your first year they had the bombing?
Yes.
Wow.
We got here in March, and then the bombing happened in April. So it was a cultural shock, and then it was like the bombing really literally happening. And as a teenager, it was a cultural shock. I think a lot of teenagers go through that anyways.
Yeah.
But imagining a different country and then a bombing just happening
right
when you get here.
They don't have bombings in Tlacuitapan, so.
No, definitely not. So that was interesting. But fast forward, I went to public schools, like a lot of our community. And then I just had an experience. I worked at a place where it brought me to financial services first. That really was the beginning of me thinking about what to do in life, or what can you do. And so it was a job that I was looking forward to. I did a lot of things before that. So I did wait tables, and I was a hostess.
That's right. Is that where you met my tio? For the people that don't know, you are my tia from my mom's side. So
yes. You
are one of the youngest sisters of how many?
9 of us.
9 of you guys?
There's 9 of us. There's 8 girls and 1 boy. There's 3 older ones, 3 middle ones, and 3 younger ones. So I'm in the middle of the
lower tier.
Yes.
The younger tier.
Yes. So I grew up with, big sisters. And the way that I see it, though, I have a lot of respect for them because they're really cool. Like, they're really good sisters. Like, they've brought, like, the way that I think of it, thinking back when I was a kid, we had my sisters make piñatas, like in Mexico. Like, who had piñatas? My sisters made us cakes, and they were teenagers. They weren't grown women. They were teenagers, and they were just playing on, how to do things. So we would go sightseeing a lot as a kid, And you probably know that from
all the sites that I get to see when I go.
Right, right. And then the truck, of course, La Fregona.
I'll post a picture of it right here.
Right, right. So it's all these amazing stories that we have from our hometown that really build you up as a person. And you're not afraid of doing things that are different. So having this family that it's your team. It's the first team that you're playing with. It's the first team that it's your culture. It's your family, literally. So I all those moments, and my parents, of course, your grandparents, I have such high respect for them because we had such great leaders. That's the way that I look at them. They're my leaders. They're the people that I trust, love, and they forged this for us. All the struggles. And as I mentioned to you before we started the podcast, thinking about the struggle, the real struggle from the people behind us. Never forget that, because they forged such a path for us that it seems easier now.
Yeah.
And so to think about that and to remember that, for me, is really, really important. So I never forget where I come from. That's the first thing. I'm very grateful that we're here. And then the reason, I'm going to fast forward all that story. That's like separate stories on its own.
We'll get there later.
I don't want to get too sidetracked. But the fast forward it coming to the United States. And then we're here. None of us spoke English. So some of us...
Everybody was under the same roof.
Everybody was under the same roof. There was... Look at me, getting a teary-eyed. Everybody was under the same roof. There was, I remember Blanca, I think from Juanita, and Juanita, Esmeralda, Nabor, Blanca, me.
My parents, whenever we came from California.
Right, yes.
I remember.
Your parents when you got here. We were all under the same roof. That was how many people? Like at least, a lot.
Pero uno ni se da cuenta when you're going
right?
Yeah, because you don't know anything else, so...
But it was really homey. I mean, if you remember, it was really homey, and we always had some sort of a gathering at our home, right? So to me, the importance of what I do, it goes back to, a long, long time ago. I was actually able to go to Mexico last year, and I want to tell this because it's such an important stepping stone. My parents lived in a stone house in Mexico. So it was literally a stone house made out of stone. Yes, in Jacona. You know that.
Yeah,
Have you been there?
Yeah, my mom took us there many years ago. It's probably been like 10 to 8 to 12.
Right.
But it was very humbling to see the house, the dirt ground, all that jazz. It's
the beginnings.
You got to go see that?
Yes. So last year, my dad actually was telling us, like, you should come. And I was hesitant. I was like, well, we got work, this and that. And I was like, well, I don't know how much longer we're going to be able to share these moments with your grandpa, my mom, and stuff like that. So I'm like, let's go. So I picked it up and I was like, let's go look at this house. And this is a story of a lot of people. Like, you think about yourself just having these stories. No, they're the stories of a lot of your friends' grandparents, right? And they really probably never have shared those stories with their grandparents. But I'm like, if you ask them, like, where did they come from? Like, if they work the fields, if they traveled here illegally, and where did they live?
Yeah, those are the stories I'm trying to get out, that I hope to get out of my grandpa. When I was talking to my grandma, we didn't even get there. We were way back.
Right. So the way that I'm like, I want to go back and look at that house, and I want to see where they lived, and then just kind of trace that back to where we're at today. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, this is so amazing that they lived so happily in this beautiful, I took a picture and I'm going to post it later today, or whenever you do your podcast, because it's got the actual house in the back. And I was able to take Chavin with me. I don't think Alex and Julian went, but I was able to take Chavin. And the part of just standing there and realizing, where does your parents come from? It was humbling. It was truly humbling, because then you fast forward and you're like, oh my God, I'm able to build from that a company we are able to bring a real estate company into what is now. I'm like, this is really humbling, and it's such a blessing, and I owe it all to them. So when the real story about how I started into real estate is I went to work for this company that is financial services. They introduced financial services. And so I started doing home loans, and I started doing life insurance and, automobile insurance and homeowners insurance. And when they introduced the banking or the financial side, this is really like the why, like the touching moment. And I may just like cry more. I'm such a
Do I
crier.
need to bring anything? Like,
No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm getting over it. Okay. But it's a good story. So when I started, and I'm not going to say companies' names or anything like that, but it was humbling because the first loan that I denied was my dad's.
No way.
Yes.
That's funny.
That is the worst.
Yeah, well, I thought you were going to be able to help him out, and you're just like, the way that your balance is set up, you can't.
Yes. So what brought me to real estate was a realization that the person that I really wanted to help, I couldn't. His loan got denied, and was back in 2004. That's when all those loans that it was variable interest rates before the market crashed in 2007. That's the first loan that I had denied. At the moment, I had no idea why that happened. It was just like a struck, I was like, God just smiked me. And that was really crushing. And imagine your grandpa going like, quítate, no sabes lo que estás haciendo. Like literally listening to your grandpa, just how he, how he's just like, I'm going to do this. And it's just like, get out of my way. And so it was like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Like, I can't help him. And then later, when he got this house, and
for which house was this?
This was for, look at me. So he bought a house for one of your tias that she couldn't get her residency, and he signed for her. And so to him, it was like, I need to give back. I need to help her because nobody else can help her.
Because he's a dad.
And he's protecting, right? He's providing. So he was really good at, I'm going to do this. And you know how he is. He's like, you can't do it. Get out of my way. I'll do it my way.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh my God, well, it was crushing. Then I learned something from it. I was like, why did this happen? So almost everything in our lives that break us will give you a lesson. To me, it's like that. Every time something breaks, something falls apart, something doesn't happen, I'm like, what do I need to learn from this? And that really has been how I've built resilience to problems and difficulties in my life, because I'm like, what was the moment that why did this need to happen?
What moment could it have?
Yes.
If it would have gone the other way, would have allowed this to go through.
And it's almost like you're trying to resolve this issue in your life. Like, you can't live like that, just stuck in the moment, right? You're trying to figure out like, how can this happen? Is it my fault? Is it something that I did? How can I improve it? How can I change it? How can I make it better? And then I realized, well, this bank doesn't have, because then later he goes and buys the house, and he got obviously a really bad loan. The loan that he got was variable interest rates, and there was a bunch of people in that boat. That's why the market crashed in 2007. That's really truly the fact, because then his interest rates started going really volatile. And how does that reflect today? I'll tell you in a bit, because it's all progressive from there. So when that happened, then I remember that I was like, well, if he bought the house, then he must have found a way to do it. And how did he do it? And so I didn't read the documents. They didn't bring them to me verbatim, because obviously they had someone already doing it for them. And I was not a realtor at the time. I was just working for this financial institution. And so I feel like, so when the problem started happening with the interest rates, variable interest rates, they brought the documents to me, and I was shocked. I was like, oh my God, this is what they signed. And I was mad. I was really upset at myself for not going to, but he was going to do it anyways.
Yeah, it was not your fault.
He was going to do it anyways. He wasn't going to let, whatever it said on that document.
He was gonna find a way to get a house, and he found a way to get a house.
He found, and every day I realized that people are going to do what they're going to do, right? Because you can't control what they want.
And it's not your fault.
And it's not.
And it's not up to us to feel guilty that they made the decision. Even afterwards, like, oh, now I got to help them. It's like you kind of have to live and die on your own sword. Right.
So at that point was like, I read the documents and it was awful. So I was able to help them refinance the house with the fixed interest rate, and that fixed the problem. But then the opportunity came up, and this person that was opening his brokerage said, hey, I am recruiting people to become real estate agents. And have you thought about it? And I think he saw something in me that something. And I loved what I did before. I was an insurance agent, and I was top of my.
You were killing it.
Yeah, I mean, it was top 10 South Side producers. So recognitions and everything. And of course, at the time there wasn't social media or anything like that. But I was 22, 23 when that happened. And I was like, I'm really good at this, but I'm not happy. This was something that shouldn't have happened. So I left the insurance business, and then I got my real estate license. So the financial services side that I had was really the stepping stone helpful for what I do now, because I was able to see the process of the financing side, and then the insurance process, the insurance side, the inspection process, everything except showing the house and selling it.
So it complemented itself very well.
Right. So when I thought about it, I was like, I'm already here. Everything kind of worked out. And, like my why was so strong. Like my why is I don't want to see this happening to anybody ever again. Like I will, even if it's one person and I'm able to help them not get to where my dad got, then I'm going to keep doing that. And really, I hadn't thought about that. I was like, I resolved my trauma, because it was a trauma of some sort, with I'm going to help people fix it. I'm going to help people not get into that issue. And so I started, in real estate and this and that. Then another trauma happened. And I'm like, now in my life, it's all traumas. It's not.
I think all our lives are traumas. I don't even think we know that some traumas are traumas. That's how bad it is.
But the realization of things happening to you for a reason, it's amazing that you're able to resolve your life in a way that I had to be broken to be rebuilt in a way that it made me stronger to be more who I am now, right?
Yeah, that's a good skill. That's like baby touching a hot pan. Like,
right.
Yeah, that's...
Exactly.
Don't want to touch that again.
Yes. So, yeah. So it is exactly that process. But until you get to that burning point, you don't learn anything.
Literally. Until you touch the pan, you won't learn.
Until you're like, I touched it and it's hot and it burnt. And then why you're not going to do it again, right? So that part, when we started in real estate, then I was doing really good, and the market just crashed. The market I got in real estate in 2005. So the market was crashing. It's all bad, and people were like scared. Here's a funny thing. I don't remember being scared about it. As a 23, 24-year-old, I was not. I want to say it out loud for real. Like, I was oblivious. Like, I had no idea.
Yeah, we didn't know. It's kind of like whenever I was in my early 20s going through that, which I really wasn't, because I didn't have anything in the game. But for us young people, it was like, we'll come back.
Right.
But now what we're going through right now definitely is a little different from back then, because now we have more in the game. We understand it more. We have something that we can reference it to compared to this. So, yeah, ignorance is bliss.
Right. Yes. Well, in a way, I was like, I didn't know what the market crash was. I knew that the market was doing bad, and people were losing their homes because of those variable interest rates that my dad had gotten. I was able to help my dad. So what I started doing was I started telling people that I sold houses. And I had already a reference of, a book of business. And at the moment, it was such a blessing because people they knew who I was before from the insurance business. And then they started looking at me for their houses. So it was really cool.
Especially in a time where everything's word of mouth, and how our community communicates is all very much word of mouth. So
yeah, and surprisingly, most of my clients were people that I already knew from the insurance business, but very few were people that I knew from my hometown, or my family or anything like that. Because at the moment, people weren't really buying, a lot. So it was interesting because when the market crashed, we did amazingly well. Like I could go back and say that was my best years.
Well, that's what they say. It's like when the crash happens is when the people become millionaires.
Right. Right. So that, and I'll reference that as well if we have time. But we had people that have started buying houses in the 20,000, 30,000.
Yeah, that's how much my mom's house was on 35th Street in the 20s. And now I'm looking at it now and it's like, it's up 4 times what you got it for in 10 years. Like, yeah. So yeah, that's some crazy prices. So
imagine people from, like, for instance, your parents came from California, right?
Yeah. That house that they sold now is worth like 400 million, and it's just
400,000.
Yeah, 400,000. Sorry, and it's basically the same thing they got over here for 20.
Right. Yeah, and it's just and they're in Palm Springs. That house is in Palm Springs. Palm Springs, it's rich people going to live there because it's nice weather. But they had to travel here, and they had to migrate or come to Oklahoma because, of course, family was here, right?
Yeah, my mom said if either you're coming or you're staying, so yeah.
Right. Right. So it was like, I need moral support. I'm going to seek my family, and it's lonely. It's lonely here in the States if you don't have family.
Probably the best decision she could have made.
Right? Because it was such a small town, and it was peaceful, and it's still peaceful. And it's still, we're not overcrowded, and the weather is kind of crazy, but, it's still, livable. So we had a bunch of people migrate here when that happened, when the market crashed. And some people lost everything in California and other places. And so they started seeking shelter. Like, where can we go that it's still affordable to live and still have jobs? And so that's what happened. So we got busy. Then one of the things that I talk about is people getting leases instead of buying houses. When people lease homes, and what does that mean? And we probably need to do a podcast just about that, but how my trauma helped me evolve into legacy. That was really the stepping stone of, I need to do my own thing.
It's crazy how that's still valid for today. You know what I mean?
It's going to continue to be valid, and more than ever, because, like I said, we need to do a podcast about just that one subject. So what happened was that I had a client that had, I'm going to say it, no papers. No, he was here with a visa in 2005, 2006. And this visa was just a tourist visa. I had no idea. And he's just like, I want to buy a house, and I'm trying to help people and this and that. And, so this is one of those, don't talk about it. It's really, don't say it, because it's not for you to say about immigration and this and that. And I'm like, it's a touchy subject, but we have to acknowledge it. It is happening, right? So this property, my previous broker, he basically said, I have this investor, and he's selling houses for lease instead of owning. And so...
Oh, I guess he's not selling.
He's not selling. He's leasing them with an option to buy. And so if they can't buy right now, they can get into this process and finance in 2 years, right? And so we got him into this house. And I remember I didn't get paid for it because it was just a lease. We don't get paid unless if we sell a property.
Not even a referral fee or anything like that?
No, I don't think I remember a referral fee. It was like, go translate for this guy to sign this document. And if he got a referral fee paid for, I wasn't aware of it. Like, I didn't get paid for until it was sold. So I just went to translate and this and that. The guy put $5,000 down and put this property under a lease to purchase. And then a year later, this law passed in Oklahoma. And this is all happening in Oklahoma, right? And in the States. Like now they have to social verify. So imagine that you had a bunch of people having to verify their social security numbers and they didn't have one because they're here with a visa or truly just straight undocumented. And this is a story for a lot of people. I mean, you know, all these DACA students, how were they before that? You know, this is their story. They don't have a social, maybe they have a tax ID number. They can buy, you know, there's so many things. And so the thing is, imagine this guy afraid of losing his home. He lost his job. He can't verify his employment. He's here with a visa, loses his house. And then he's like, I want my money back. And Rosy sold it to me. And I'm like, but dude, I didn't charge you for it. It's owned by this attorney, right?
Yeah, you didn't even, it's not your lease. It's
no. And people don't understand that. They're like, well, this realtor sold me this house. And I'm like, I'm not the owner of this homes. And they're owned by someone else. But so the story goes like this. He goes to Tyler Media and tells his story.
No way.
And burns me on TV.
No way.
Yes.
What?
Yes. And it was there. And it was like, you know, here's her.
Isn't that ridiculous how somebody that obviously doesn't have his facts straight is wrong 100% still ends up being the loudest person out there. It's con ninguna razón gets on TV to burn somebody. Like,
you said, you know, the ignorance part of it was I'm going to burn somebody. And he told us I'm going to burn somebody because I'm not able to pay for my home. I'm not able to get a loan anymore because I'm undocumented. Yeah. And I want you to give me my money back or I'll burn you. That was it.
Lo que es no tener la información on how to do things, what you signed yourself up for.
Yes. So the fact was, we were like, you know, maybe we should get a loan and pay it for him and then just own it, you know, finance it for him. I got to that point. I was like, you know, what can we do? Can we fix it? Because I felt responsible in a way because in a way, and this was the breaking point of how do you protect people? Our duty as realtors is we protect people from being scammed, right? Owning their home. Our duty is to protect the sellers and the buyers, protect the public from being scammed. And how did I get to this point? So talking to the broker, he was like, there's nothing we can do. The owner is going to evict him because he hasn't paid his payments. And there's just like you and I, if I don't pay for my mortgage, I'm going to get kicked out, right? So how dare you come and just be like, give me my money back?
Yeah, right. You're not when you haven't paid anything. If it was a car that you weren't paying for, you can't just take it back and be like, all right, I'm selling it back to you.
Right. So it was like, no, there was a story there. But that was a breaking point where I thought like, you know, why did this happen? Again, why did this happen? And so how, and going back to when I started in real estate, I remember my dad's words like this. I got licensed, and of course, the first person that I went to tell was my dad. Hey, Dad, now I'm going to be in real estate. And he looked me straight up in the eye and said, haga las cosas bien o no las haga. You know my dad, right?
Yeah, that sounds like something.
Haga las cosas bien y nunca se le ocurra hacer las cosas mal con la gente. Haga las cosas bien o mejor
Como
no
que
las haga.
echándote la sal. Like, if you do, they're going to catch you.
Well, it is true in a way. I mean, it's like karma, right? It's like, you know that if you do anything wrong, karma is going to come back and get you. But imagine your dad telling you, haga las cosas bien o mejor no las haga. Like, you know, and his experience was bad already. So he was like, you know, don't do us wrong. Don't bring shame to the family. That kind of sort of thing. And so those words were really, really strong I'm not going to do you wrong. There's nothing. And then now imagine that happening.
Which it wasn't your fault, but like.
But then you look at everybody going like, you know, you don't believe me. Like it wasn't me, but you have all these other stories and you don't believe me. So I'm like, at the end of the day, I'm like, hey, listen, so that happened. What can I do about it? How can I fix this problem? And so that was the stepping stone of us brainstorming and thinking like, we gotta do something. I didn't trust this guy anymore that I worked for. I was like, if you did this and you didn't explain it to me as my broker, you
like
didn't
he should have been the one
me.
to look out for you. Like, hey, the way that this is set up, like,
right. Yeah, you're supposed to be my mentor. You're supposed to be the one that I'm under you. So basically, you're my broker. My license is a realtor.
And then as a leader, like, you definitely have to be there to take the blame for it too. Like,
right. Yeah. Explain it or something. And it was like, no, just let it blow off. And I'm like, no, we have to help him. Like, I felt like, we have to fix it. And he was just like, just let it go. And there was more people that he had put through that process. So
yeah, if he fixes it for one, he has to fix it for all of them. And for him, it was probably just another person. Another person's going to want to buy a house.
Right.
Que se friegue, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. And that's really what happened. Time goes by, his brokerage, we leave. We end up leaving because we weren't happy. We weren't comfortable anymore. And I was just like, you know what? I think that happened. I had my biggest sale. I sold a $725,000 property that year.
Wow.
And I was pregnant with Chavin. So I already had Alex, my oldest one, Julian, and then Chavin, my youngest one, was born in 2007. And when this whole thing happened, I was a mom of 3. And I had just had my baby. And I remember I was breastfeeding and it just went away because I was under all that pressure. So after 2007, when that market really crashed, because I was in 2007 when that happened about the lease, then we opened and Salvador got really upset and he was like, you know what, I'm going to get my broker's license. And we had already been in real estate for 2 years, so we got our broker's license. And then we opened Legacy on 89th and
okay, in between Penn and Blackwell there.
Yeah. So that triggered us to do it on our own and open Legacy. And for 10 years, while my kids were growing, we really didn't do anything. Like, we just kind of settled. We're like, okay, we have kids, and we're just going to work. We're just going to do real estate. And he goes, for 10 years, nothing's going to happen. We're just going to exist here and be Legacy. And so Legacy has been Legacy since 2008.
Aunque no lo crean, like, it's
since
been
2008.
14 years of Legacy.
Yes. And so the thing is, when you think back and you're like, they just popped up out of nowhere. And I'm like...
That's what they would like to think. Overnight success.
I'm like, I don't know, because I've been licensed since 2000. But you really don't think about that when you're in the process.
Yeah.
Like, you don't, we did that, and I was that age, when I had my kids. I already had Salvador, my youngest one. So, yes, I was in my office and I had my Brady Bunch. I had my 3 boys with me. I showed houses with one in my hip and then the other one in my arm. And of course, I had a ton of help because basically this was the humbly beginning of things, right? And so why this story is so important to me, because that's really what happened to get to where the struggle. And it was for real. It wasn't something that, I just decided to be in real estate because it was so cool and it was so glamorous and this and that. And I'm like, no, it wasn't.
It wasn't always glamorous.
No, because at the time, we didn't have, we started having cell phones and it got easier. We had a 3-page contract. Now it's like 15-page contract. It's crazy how it's changed. And we started, we're still in that growth process, but, the way to think back, I'm like, I can go back to that stone house and then tracing back the steps. And I'm like, I'm happy because it was a struggle, but I enjoy going back and looking at it. Where does it come from? Like, what was the reason behind it? It had a purpose. And so now when I'm sitting here and I realize, like, now we have 12, there's 12 of us here in the office. Fast forward, to 5 years ago, and we were able to build our office here, and then do multiple things, and do investment properties, and I'm still married. I married my high school sweetheart, and so I just celebrated 22 years anniversary, and so it's all these little winnings. Thank you. So it's all these little things that, and then of course, and I go back and forth, but of course, we opened in 2019 here at the office. We opened in April. And so the pandemic happens.
That was why I gasped a little bit. It's just perfect timing.
It was before that. It was like a bliss. It was just like nobody was awake of issues for a good while, right? For a good while, it was good. It was great. It built it up to where we got in 2018, 2019, 2017, 18. We started building the office. It took us about 8 years to build, or 8 months. I'm sorry, 8 months to build. And that was another story. One of our builders signed for us to build the office. And so we designed it. We designed the office where we're at. I was in the designing process. Tu tío Salvador was the one who built it, literally. We applied for a loan. And funny story, once we applied for the business loan, for the construction loan, we applied with one bank, and they told us, you don't qualify for it now. Like literally, you don't qualify for it now. And I was like, the story is repeating itself. You don't qualify for this. So with my experience I'm a realtor, and I know that you don't have the product that I want, I'm going to go knock another door. And so I went and knocked on another door, and that door opened, and we got the loan. We got an SBA loan. So it's like a small business loan. And we were given green light, and we built. And so that was really, scary. Honestly, that was really...
Yeah, I can't imagine. I talk about a risk.
And it's one of the things that I tell people, like, and you mentioned it, risk tolerance. Like, the certainty that you're going to be able to go through the problem or survive or anything.
Some people just don't have that bandwidth to be able to even think about that risk, and not even that, but then afterwards look at the benefits of taking that risk. I've run into that whenever I talk to people about investing, even if it is just like $5 on a stock. They're just like, oh, no, I can't do it. It's just, I'm throwing it away. But you can sell it whenever you need to, blah, blah, blah. It's people's just risk tolerance are at different levels.
So in essence, that was a very, very high risk. And so the way that I think about it was like, my dad has taught us not to be afraid. Don't be afraid. And duro y a la cabeza. And so I would always go back and talk to my dad and be like, hey, I'm thinking about this and this and this. He was like, mija, duro y a la cabeza. And so we didn't see anything that was holding us back because we were busy. Like we were really busy, and just, like all of our business, I can proudly say, is word of mouth. It's just referrals. People coming back and trusting us. Yes. And so we were like, we're too busy. We can't do this because we're being, poor customer service.
It's kind of like what Fabricio said this the other day to me. He said, Papa, I have one brain and two hands. That's it. I was like, yeah, you got one brain, two hands. I was like, I can only do so much.
Right?
One brain, two hands.
Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. And he's so little. Yeah. Exactly. I mean, I only have one brain and two hands, so I needed more hands, right? And we're thinking like, how are we going to do it? And in my mind was like, I can't bring people on board if I don't have a place for people to find me. Like I can see the market shift, but our culture is different. And our Hispanic culture, we want to see where you're at. We want to see. I still do a lot of handshakes, and my word, como dice tu abuelito, mi palabra es mi palabra. So I still think like that. I'm very old-fashioned, even though we're here in this time and place. And
making Facebook Lives and everything.
Right?
You're still old-fashioned.
Podcast.
Yeah.
But I still believe in handshakes. Like, I think it's the core value that I will forever cherish, that, you know, handshake. If I give you my word, that's what it's going to be. So it's like, we need to have a place that people can actually get together and see where we're at, and we're local. So that's a really important thing. We're here. We're from here. Yeah, I was born and raised in Mexico, but I feel like I'm an Oklahoman now.
You've been here more than you have been over there. So.
Yes. So, and I can say, I'm not going to say I'm not from here, I'm not from there. I'm from both places. Because I can go back and I love my culture. And I'm here and I love it too.
They're both homes.
Yes, they're both homes. So I'm not going to say, you know, I'm not from neither place. I'm from both places. If I go to another place in the world and I love it, I'm going to be from that place too. Why not, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but with the whole idea here with the office was like, this is our home. You know, this is our home away from home, the place where we can come and work, and it's peaceful. Yeah. And so building that, and then everything else that came after, it's always going to be, you know, you're always going to have to get up and go get it. And, you know, you can say success, and I'm like, success? You can think you got it. You don't have it. And you'll never have it. You're always going to have to have...
I think success is what you make it.
Right.
And success is very personal and circumstantial. So what success for you might be something completely different for me. I think about that whenever I talk to a guy named Cody Larendi. His goal was to become a professional soccer player. Well, that's broad. Like, let's break that down. Like, what does that mean? Like, does that mean playing for Energy, or does that mean playing for Chivas, or does... You know, so success, it's a little different for everybody.
What is your goal in life? What is your purpose in life, right? So I found my purpose in life in a very young age, at a very young age, why I wanted to do real estate. And so when I ask people, like, why did you want to do what you want to do?
Kind of like when you asked me, why are you doing the podcast?
Yes. Like, why? What's the purpose behind it? Where do you see yourself with it in the future? And so the way where I see myself in the future is... you know, I know where I come from. It was essential for me to know where I came from. And to me is, you know, I understand where people come from, because the people that I serve to, the people that come to us, they have this very similar stories. And so when you're able to put yourself in their shoes and understand where they come from, some of my best clients that I've helped in the last 17 years was helping them through problems that they had no hope. Like, you know, I of course have sold properties that are, you know, multi-million-dollar properties, but I'm like, the people that actually needed me the most made me realize why I do this. So when you don't forget that, it's like a snowball effect. Like, those blessings really do bless, you know, people blessing you, like, you know, God bless you because you're doing this. And I'm like, that right there pays me more morally than money.
Kind of like when you help somebody who's in the same situation that my grandpa was in when his first loan came to you.
Yes. And so to recap, one of the last things that happened, because I always pray, I always kneel down and just humbly, you know, pray. And I'm like, if this is going to happen, make it happen. If it's not going to happen, don't make it happen. Don't send me in that path. And so one of the last things that happened when we opened in 2019, I was like, you know, all this process and all these naysayers and all the negativity and everything. I'm like, nope, this is happening because it's happening. It's meant to happen. What's the purpose of it? I'm helping people. And so this last story, do you still have time?
I'm on your time, unless Valencia is dying out there.
So one of the last things that happened that just kind of reinforced what my purpose is was I had this lady walk in to the office once we built it. Like, the very first person that I recognized as a client. She walks in and she's fixing her hair. And she told me she stood outside for like 10 minutes before walking in because it was such a pretty place, right? And she goes, I have a problem. My husband, this is a really touchy subject. I didn't want to post it, but I'm going to say it. You know, it's my story. So my husband's not here. My husband's in another state or whatever, and we're losing our home. And I don't know what to do. And somebody was going to give me $50,000 for my home, but somebody else told me to come to you and talk to you because you would help me and put yourself in my shoes. And that right there was, and her voice, you could feel her.
Yeah, her fragileness of the situation.
Yeah. And she had 2 kids, a little girl and a little boy. And she's sitting there in my office right here. And I'm going like, how does that, I was like, okay, tell me the truth.
Yeah, because don't lie to me because it'll make it worse.
Right.
I've heard you say that. Like, show me your financials. Don't lie to me. Like.
Right. Tell me the truth. I need to know the truth so that I can help you. And these are stories that we can't share. We can't tell. Of course, I'm not going to tell you the names. But she goes, well, my husband got deported. And I'm here and I'm not legal. And we have this house with a lease with owner to owner. And I don't know what to do. And I was like, are you for reals? Are you kidding me? Are you like, how does that happen, Ricardo?
Yeah.
How does that happen? I can't explain.
Just people taking advantage of people and some people just needing something. So they're just.
So, but the thing is, when I sat there, I said, I need your documents. I need to read them. I'm not an attorney. I can't help you the way that an attorney could help you, but I can read it. Yeah. I can look at it.
Guide you. I can give you some options.
So I read the document, and they had a loophole, a lease with option to buy. They had paid the down payment to buy, to execute the purchase, but they hadn't bought it because they didn't have the money. So I'm like, si usted le cree en Dios, porque she didn't speak Spanish, I mean English. I said, if you believe in God.
You can say it in Spanish.
Si cree en Dios, si cree en Buddha, si cree en las Chivas en America. I literally said that. I said, pray that you're going to get this resolved. And she goes, okay. I said, you're going to do everything that I'm going to tell you to do. And we're going to do this. And we're going to sell your house. And we're going to give you money to go back, do whatever you need to do. Yeah. And she goes, and I was like, do you want to keep it or what do you want to do? She goes, I need money. I need to do something. If there's anything that I can do with this house, what can I do? So this was the closing moment for me realizing that my purpose was like full circle. You know, when you start a circle, it started because of the lease problem. Yeah. And then
this situation here reminded you of the first situation that you had and helping her healed a little bit back here, but then also made you realize that this is why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Full circle. Yeah. Full closure. Like this was closure. And so it was really interesting because when this lady had no hope, nothing, my mind just kind of blew up. It was like, I can fix it. I know how to fix it now.
She's like, I can help you. I got the answers. I got the answers. Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, we're going to sell your house. You're going to sign this document.
So it was a lease to own, then she purchased it, and then she sold it.
Yes.
Nice.
So we had electronic signatures by then. So I had them sign me a leasing agreement to sell it. And they have, so when you sign a contract, you have equitable interest in the property, right? You own the equity in the property because you already signed a lease with option to buy and they had executed their option to buy. People don't know this. So people lose their homes because they think that somebody can come in and kick them out if they had the lease with option to buy, which, you know, we'll get to that. So we sell a house. And don't know how. It was a miracle to me. They didn't ask for an ID for my client. The seller showed up, signed the deed, and gave us a check for them. And my buyer was in Mexico. My seller was in Mexico. I literally handed her a check for $26,000, and we hugged and cried. And she went off her way.
That's crazy.
So to me, that was like...
From losing a house to losing the house, owing money, to selling it and getting $26,000 back. Like that's
right. So So to me, that was like the moment that to me God showed me this is
You're on the right path, and this is why.
I was praying. I was like, you question to yourself all the time, like, why am I doing soccer? Why am I doing, what is the purpose of it? Why are you doing a podcast? Who's going to look at the podcast? Who's going to see my story? Why do they care about my story? Those questions, though. But I do, because at the end of the day, it might resonate to somebody that needed to listen to this and know that the path is not the end of the story. Excuse me. The path is just the process, but what happens, you don't know what the purpose of it was until it happens. So when it happened, I'm like, that's why I opened this office. She almost didn't walk in.
She was outside for 10 minutes.
She was afraid to walk in because it was a nice place. And our culture, Hispanics, were not used to seeing...
Makes sense. Yeah, I know exactly what you're saying.
I'm not supposed to be going to a nice place to get help. I'm not supposed to have a nice car. I'm not supposed to, all those things that you tell yourself you're not supposed to. And then I'm like, no, but we have him, and we have this abundance in our lives. And I don't know how I've always thought about, our life is so abundant, and I'm so grateful. And if I can help anybody, I will, because I was helped. And so to bring that to, realization that, oh my God, this is my purpose in life. Of course, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a tia, but, it is really important for me. It was a really important thing to realize I'm helping someone. And now it's not about that story as much, but it still happens. It's still happening every day. So all that evolved to now we're building generational wealth. Now we're advising people how to become millionaires. Now we're advising on other aspects that I'm like, are you serious? Like, I get to do this? Because it keeps coming, it keeps evolving. And so the people keep evolving. You evolve with them.
Yeah. So all these people that have purchased houses from you 20 years from now that are coming back with equity, and they're just like, okay, well, now I got this big house. I have money to sit on. Like, what do I do next? And this is more like, well, considering the position that you're in, you can do X, Y, Z. Depending on your risk tolerance, you can do A, B, C. And then, you're building millionaires.
So at the end of the day, when you go back and look at, I've had clients that they own 10, 15 homes, 30 homes. And you're looking at them going like, wow. Like I triggered something in them to do that. And then when you look at yourself and you're like, I turned 40. I'm 40 years old. And I know everything that I know now. So I'm like, I'm excited. I'm so excited because for the next 20 years, 25, 30 years, what am I going to do? Like, I feel like I'm starting. If it makes sense.
That does. It makes complete sense. I was telling that about the podcast with somebody else because I'm almost 1 year in. And 1 year to the how many years you've been doing real estate is nothing. But I was trying to tell them, like, I got 44 episodes in, but I feel like I'm just getting started. Like, what am I going to be when I'm at 100 or 200 or 300, 5, 1,000? Like, 40 is going to be nothing. I'm just getting started.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, I mean, I'm enjoying the process. I'm enjoying now. If I come across any issues, I'm like, what was the purpose again? How can I learn from this? And so, with the economy as uncertain as it is right now, people are really afraid. And all I see is possibilities.
Yeah. It just depends on how you look at it, right?
All I see is, basically, you're here and we're so sheltered from other things that are happening in the world because we're literally in the center of the states, right? And we have now we have Amazon that moved in. And I told my husband, I was like, Salvador, so I read the story. I love reading. So that's one of the things that I tell people. I love reading. I love educating myself. And I follow, my background is economics and finances. I don't have a bachelor's degree. I don't have, I did go to the community college. I think that's really important to say that, because people are like, well,
you need a degree to do something. That's not the case. You can do it without it.
No, of course, I'm a real estate I was a real estate agent first, and then a real estate broker, and then I have other licenses for other things that I did. But the experience part of it is something that you can't recreate just with the paper, because the practice is different from the study. I do highly support people to get their bachelor's degrees. Of course, I have a son and he's going to college right now. He's going to OU. And I'm like, go to school, get some basics, get a mentor, mentor under somebody. Currently we have a coach, and this is really where I'm like, I need help. And I have a mentor. I have a coach. It is very important, just like you have a coach for soccer, and a mentor, and you ask, the tricks in the game, maybe jump a certain way or kick the ball a certain way, all of those things. But it really boils down to practice. How much do you practice? And so at the end of the day, with the market as it is right now, the way that it applies to me is I've been watching the market since it crashed, since my
This isn't your first crash. This is your second crash.
Yeah. Or it could be, and it's not, the way that I look at it is not, when you inform yourself, it's not going to crash because there's so much equity on the table. Like you have, like when you bought your house, like look at all the equity that you have there. And so last year, people were buying houses left and right because the market was crashing and the government literally just artificially dropped the interest rates. Well, you had a lot of people cashing out from their homes, their equity. And the biggest business right now is leases. So you have a lot of companies that are cashing out from their properties that they have massive equity because they're acquisition companies.
Yeah, you must be talking about these big investment firms that are coming in, buying houses and then leasing them out. And I agree that the bad thing about that is that those houses won't go back on sale for a very, 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 very long time.
Well, then that's kind of what's happening in China. People aren't able to buy homes because they're owned by the government. Yeah,
there's a saying somewhere that says, eventually we will own nothing and what is it? Rent everything or something like that, along the lines of basically like you're not going to own a house, you're going to lease it. And that's not good.
It's going to be impossible to buy. If you think about it, the way that I think about it now, and that was my biggest. So I had this vision of what would happen if Amazon moved in and other companies moved in, right? Because Amazon moved into Seattle. And then Seattle became one of the most expensive cities in the States. When I read short stories about Bill Gates and, Amazon and this and that, Jeff Bezos, how blah, blah, blah.
So you're basically saying like when the tech moved to Silicon Valley, what happened to Silicon Valley? Everything turned expensive. Now people are coming to Oklahoma City. What's going to happen in Oklahoma City? It's going to get expensive. When everybody was going to Austin, Texas, what happened to Austin, Texas? It became expensive. I tell everybody that if you come to Oklahoma City, bring an idea from any part of the United States, you're always 10 years ahead of the game. So if you want to buy a house here, you're probably 5, 6, 10 years ahead of the game. In whatever aspect you want to look at it, whether it's how much it's going to cost you, how much it's going to cost in the future, all that jazz.
So now imagine that the way that I looked at it and the way that it works in my brain is like this. If somebody that is so smart and was able to build Amazon and he bid and he bought in Oklahoma, he set in Oklahoma, why did they do that? What do they see that normal mortals don't see?
Just that Oklahoma's in the middle of everything. We have 2 highways going north and south, east and west. So eventually, whenever they open up a highway that's going to be driven by mechanical cars, it's going to be going through Oklahoma.
Everything. So I had this realization, like, what's going to happen? And I'm like, we got to build an office. We got to move. And I got excited about it. And I'm like, we got to move. We got to get this done before it hits here, before it gets here. And me and my husband were like, okay, we didn't build our dream home. I don't live in my dream home yet. I'm not there yet, but we're working on it. So the way that I look at it is like, I'm putting aside my immediate gratification for the things that I want to do, because I want to build something that will give me the lifestyle that I want.
And then when you get there, you'll realize that the best time wasn't the destination. It's
the process.
The getting there.
Yeah.
You're going to look back and be like, oh, I got my dream house.
Yeah.
But do you remember that first person that I helped out with the lease to own and how I fixed that person's house? So.
I imagine myself standing in my dream home, looking at it, and I'm excited because I can see it. And I imagine myself in it. But then in that moment, I'm going to remember that stone house and I'm going to cry. I'm already crying.
Yeah.
But if that makes sense, I already have that realization in my mind that I'm going to do it.
I believe you. I think you can.
And when I do it, when we do it, when me and my husband do this, that realization of going back to looking at that stone house is going to be full circle. So I have little stories that I'm like, this is like closure. That's why I have there the closer.
You should write a book.
Yeah.
It'll be from stone house to stone house.
And that's another story.
Yeah.
Bricks versus trash.
Bricks versus trash. Yeah, that is another story.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lot. Yeah. Who owns that house in Mexico?
I don't know, but I would love just to go buy it and just put
just leave it as it is.
Leave it there for put my it's there, but I'm like that realization, and I don't mention a lot about the things that really make things happen. Because I see the bigger picture. I'm like, and really everything is forged with people. Like I have an amazing group of people that I surround myself with, and that I surround them as well. So it's all about, there's a vision, but then there's all these other people working along the way. And so it's a bigger, I have this one vision, then I have another one about, our business, and I have another one about my kids. And like I said, it's full circle on different things. But the way that I think of it is like a funnel. I'm going in this funnel, and I'm just going through the funnel. I'm not stumbling like this. I'm going through the funnel, and I'm going slow, if that makes sense.
Sometimes, yeah.
And I'm like,
maybe you're not going, to you might be going slow, but to everybody else, you're going real fast.
Seems like, right? So to me, it's like the process is kind of slow but steady, and we don't ever stop. Like we wake up and we go. We wake up and go.
And I guess what I meant to say is like from outside, it doesn't look that way because you must get it a lot. Maybe Legacy Real Estate Group just started last year, like how they're so big, how they get big so fast. Yeah. But that's not true. Es un dicho in sports is like they weren't with you shooting in the gym.
Right.
Practicing,
Yeah.
They just see you making slam dunks right now. They see my tia Rosy going down the lane and going, bah! And then they're just like, how'd she do that? Well, she's been practicing for 10, 12 years,
Yeah.
So that's...
It's amazing, and it's incredible to me. Sometimes I'm like, oh my God. And in the kind of industry that I'm at, I get to see people evolve from where I met them and where they're at now.
Yeah, because now you're training,
yes,
you're teaching, you're giving people lessons, which is probably something we'll get into later. I was going to say, because we're already an hour in.
Oh, okay.
But we should do this next week.
Yeah.
I think we can hammer out one a week.
Yeah.
And just pick a topic and just go like it.
And that's really, a lot of people don't know who we are. And a lot of people don't realize that we're just like them, the same struggles, the same everything. And we have so much to give back. We have so much to just help the other people grow. And so that's really the part of the process is we're going to help people, come to what they want to do. Now I'm at the point where I'm sitting down and I'm consulting people and I'm like, what is your dream? What do you want to do? And they're like, I want to own 10 homes. And I'm like, a good thing about me is I can think ahead, have this vision, and then I can just reverse engineer.
Yeah, I love that. You're not hit with the problem and automatically closed-minded. It's, okay, you want 10 houses. How can we get 10 houses? Well, if we buy one a year for 10 years, it's 10 houses. Yeah. If you want to do 1,000 push-ups in an hour, well, that sounds like a lot. But if you say, okay, an hour, 60 minutes, 1,000, how many can I do in 10 minutes?
Yeah.
And then how many do I have to do in 5 minutes? Well, then how many do I have to do in a minute to get to 1,000? You have to break it down, reverse engineer it.
So that's really what I think it's my one of the best things about us, just thinking of the future and how do we reverse engineer. And if we think about 10 years, well, how can we do it in 8? Don't think about doing it in 10 or 12. How can you do it in 8?
Half, 5.
5,
whatever.
you know? And I'm thinking like, because the only way is to just do the work and move, keep moving. There's no other, once you settle and get to that comfort zone,
it's harder for you to take risks. Your inertia is a lot heavier. Yeah, I get it.
So I'm like, no, I don't. I read a book that I really love, and I'll share it real quick. Winning was breaking it down to, I'm not crazy. I have this goal and I have this mindset, and everything that it has sacrificed. You know, why am I crazy? No, I'm not crazy.
That's your superpower.
It just bulldozes people around you. It just bulldozes people that are wanting to be in a comfort zone, and I'm not. So when I'm not in a comfort zone, it moves everybody along the way. And if they don't move with me, the train leaves and it's gone. So a lot of people that come for advice, and they get the advice, but they don't follow through. They don't achieve greatness, or they don't achieve anything because they go back to their comfort zone and they forgot about what it was.
Well, it's hard. It's hard.
It is.
It's hard to push forward and get out of your comfort zone.
Yes. But then again, you know, just like a soccer team, you don't get people in that team that are in a comfort zone. You get people that are moving fast. And you want to get the people that are moving faster than you, to surround your team with people that are moving fast and are winning. Because if you don't surround surround yourself with the soccer team that is all in, not just half in, they have to be all in. And their mindset is winning. Their entire mindset is what moves the team, the culture. So when I see people that are there in a comfort zone, I don't want to practice. I don't want to get up. I want the people that want to get up at 5 in the morning and they're eager and they can't even go to sleep because they're excited. And that's the mindset that really gets you places. And when people look at me, they're like, how did they do it from like overnight?
It's not overnight.
And I'm like, I'm excited to get up and come and just do this. And it's crazy because it's, not everybody gets excited about their job. But I am. So I'm this many years into the game and I'm still loving it. It's almost like I'm obsessed with it. And you're obsessed with soccer. So imagine putting it where you'd love it and it pays you.
And now you're making it now your obsession is getting even more. Now you have more passion behind what you're doing now. So it's gotten, your problem has gotten worse over time.
I know, right? Well, the thing is, it's you just need to find crazy people like you to
because if you don't find somebody to motivate you, it's just going to bring you down.
Yeah. So I am in coaching, and I'm coaching with the number 1 coach in the world.
Who's that?
Tom Ferry.
Okay.
And so I just love it. I wouldn't give it up. And so I tell people, like, I have a coach. So imagine soccer. I was like, I'm going to find the best of the best because I don't have someone around me that can teach me.
Yeah, because to bring it to soccer, like if I go and kick around with a bunch of guys who I'm the best person there, well, how am I going to get any better?
Right.
You have to find people that are better than you so you can acclimate yourself to those waters, so you can get used to the speed and the all that jazz. So yeah, finding someone that's better than you is always better. Because if you're the best person in the room, then you're in the wrong room.
You need to leave. Yeah. So it is humbling when you get to going from point A, which was the stone house, to point, like Y, not even C yet, but Y. And you come to these rooms and they're multi-million-dollar, producers. And they're selling 1,000 transactions a year. And you're sitting in a room of 200 people that most of them have like 500 transactions. 1,000 transactions, and you're sitting going like, I'm a chicken.
But that's good because to you those numbers seem impossible, like uncomprehendable. Right. But when he's up there breaking it down, showing you tips and tricks, like it's really just not. It's all obtainable. You're just
like, oh.
Depends on the story that you tell yourself when you wake up. Like, can you achieve it? Can you not? Like, so
yeah. So I have another story in my head.
Okay.
It's called You went to fly with eagles. Why are you not flying? Are you a chicken? And so that's probably another book in the process of in my head. But you went to fly with eagles. Imagine you went with your favorite team and you played soccer with them. And then you come back home and you're done. You didn't do anything about it. And then you went to fly with eagles. These are people that are like bigger leagues, right? And then you came home and you did nothing about it. How does that make you feel? It makes me angry because I'm like, listen, what am I going to do about it? Because if I'm that obsessed and I love it, and it's not about, it's still about the purpose of helping people. But now I have agents that are starting in the process in the agency, and they have that same, like,
they're eagles, but they feel like they're chickens, I guess you can say. Like
so
they can fly, but they just, you need to.
So I'm like, there's something here. Now I can mentor somebody. So it does become a mentorship of some sort where you're trusting someone to, delegate to them and teach them your ways. And so it has evolved to that. And you can see the process where it's going now because I told you my story. But I'm like, this is just the process. I don't know where it's going to end. But I'm looking forward to more. So that's basically the whole story. It's just, it's just little me. And you got to remember one thing. I didn't speak a lick of English. So now
you're doing a good job. That's what I was just thinking about. I was like, yeah, English is pretty good.
So it's another thing that people are like, I don't understand English. And I'm like, well, I didn't speak it. I didn't speak it either. And so now it's like, you got to put so many puzzle pieces together to see the big picture. So I'm yet to see the bigger picture because I'm putting still my puzzle pieces there. And so there's so many moving pieces still. So, yeah.
Well, that's exciting.
I know, right?
Nice. I feel like there's still so much more to be said.
Yeah.
But I think this is good. This is a good beginning point.
Okay.
So we'll come back for part 2. Dia, do you have anything else you want to say to the camera, to whoever's listening?
Oh, my goodness. No, I think, whoever looks at the story and they feel scared and they feel lonely and just in a dark place, it's there. It happens. But in the darkest, loneliest moments is where I found my strength, I dig deeper into my darkness to build my strength. That's one of the things. I dig deeper because those dark moments is what made me get here. So when you're thinking like I'm in a dark moment, it's like get your butt up and go. Nobody's gonna get you out of any dark places. And so dig in that, and I think it's in that book, Winning. Dig deeper into the dark moments.
It reminds me of like Michael Jordan. Whenever he would try to find reasons to get himself motivated, he'd have to tap into his darkness. So if somebody pissed him off or something, he'd be like, I'm going to use that.
Guess who was Michael Jordan's trainer?
Not Tom Ferry.
Tim Grover.
Tim Grover?
And that's the author for Winning.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay. So that makes sense.
Yes.
That makes sense.
My favorite author. So makes me not feel crazy.
Yeah, no, because it's kind of like when I said back then, it's my superpower.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because somebody the other day was like, dude, your ADHD is showing. I was like, it's my superpower.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
And it's and that's good to know that, you have those superpowers and acknowledge them.
Yeah, because you can either look at it as a superpower or you can look at it as something that's holding you back, not allowing you to be 100%. So it's just the way you look at it. That's
one of the things I'm really good at not paying attention to the small problems. I look at the bigger problem and I'm like, that's the one that I want to tackle. I'm going to start with the little ones, but I want to tackle that one. And that's my superpower. Like, I know that I have an issue, but that's it. We're going to work on it. And that's it. So,
where can we find you, Dia?
You can find me in my legacy home here at Legacy Real Estate Group, 10501 South Blackwelder. We're in the corner of Blackwelder and 104th. So come see us.
Social medias?
Legacy Real Estate Group, okay. That's Instagram, and then Facebook also. We're also on Google, Legacy Real Estate Group, Oklahoma. And we're starting to post there more. I do reviews for places that I've been. So I have 100 followers on Google.
Nice.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, it is crazy. Denise does that too. And it's crazy how some of these reviews can get so many views and likes. And you leave good and bad reviews. Sometimes the owners will reach back out to you. And some people will appreciate it. So
yeah.
So,
I think it's amazing social media. I'm embracing it. It gives you the opportunity to show your story and who you are, and why should they see you. But mostly, we resonate with people that come from another country, and they're like, how they make it? I mean, it's just
those are my favorite kinds of podcasts. Is whenever I have a foreigner come and tell me how they ended up in the U.S. to play soccer. And like the last chick that I had, she said her parents took her to learn English at 4, and then she found out that through soccer she could come play in the U.S. So then she tried to play soccer, and now she's here. So
she had her why. So, and that's really that's really it. Find your purpose in life. Like, why do you want to do something? And it just becomes really simple. Like, you just do it. So that's it.
So I appreciate you for coming on and telling me your why, and we'll come and do this again. So thank you.
Yay! Thank you.
For those that are listening, thank you for listening and tuning in. This has been another episode of the Mas Futbol podcast with my tia Rosy.
Thank you.